Okay, this video is to sort of send a message to UFC fans who are relatively new to the sport and all that, and who are relatively new to the sport and sort of dual purpose. Some people, they want to learn, they do actually want to be educated about the sport, and that's cool. I like people like that. I like people like that. They're the type of people that keep the sport going. You gotta learn and go on. And then there are people that will, I'm gonna call them fad fans, even if they may not be into the UFC because it's a fad, but I'm going to compare them to it. They're gonna be the fad fans, and then there are the real fans who just haven't been educated yet. Fad fans look at the UFC and only the UFC. They don't look outside of the UFC. And a guy who I will put in this group kind of sent me a message because in one of my videos, he didn't even state the video, but he messaged me. I'll read you some of it, kind of cleaned up, no profanity and all that, because there was actually some pretty large amounts of profanity in this one. Okay, here's basically the message, what it boils down to. You don't know anything about pardon me, I would say mixed martial arts, but he says ultimate fighting. The UFC is everything. There is really nothing outside the UFC. I don't know why you can't just accept that the UFC is the best. You're not a UFC fan, and you shouldn't be doing videos. Save us all the trouble and don't do the videos. Okay. First up, I don't know if you can see that, but UFC sweatshirt I'm wearing for the purpose of making the point. I own 3. I own several other things in terms of merchandise from the UFC. I am a UFC fan. I order every pay-per-view that I can. I go to the bar to watch it if I can't order it. If I'm in the lovely surroundings you see of residence, because I can't order them here, I have to go to the bar to watch them. If I'm at home, I order them and pay for them. Now, the fact that you refer to it as Ultimate Fighting kind of points you out as a bit of a UFC noob almost. And I'm not going to identify him because I don't want to give him the, satisfaction of being mentioned in one of my videos. But, okay, you say I waste my time making videos, I shouldn't make videos. I don't know, Jack. Are you not wasting even more time of your time by watching my videos and sending me stupid messages like this? Because this is about the 4th message you sent me with the same shit, basically. That's all there is to it. What do I have to say that I know something? Well, I train mixed martial arts, grappling, striking, all of it. I refer to as mixed martial arts, not ultimate fighting. I've been training for, it'll be about, well, I started training about 4 years ago, except it's been broken up by various injuries. I would say probably about 3 years of actual training, and about a year of sitting off on the sidelines with a bad back and not training. And I've had a couple of amateur fights, no pro fights yet, unfortunately, just amateur. I'm getting back into it, and I think this makes me more qualified than most of the people who insult me. I don't think they've ever stepped in a ring or a cage. I don't think they've ever even stepped in the gym. And if you have, I'm props to you. I still have a better than 50% record on fights. I do as well as any other MMA predictor. I mean, I have the guts to put my stuff, my thoughts, my opinions out there to be flamed, because it happens even though I ask you not to just pointlessly flame my shit. It happens anyways. To the haters, to the fans, to be argued with and disagreed with, and you don't do that. I looked at your account. You don't make any videos about anything. So, I don't know. I just don't think that you can judge me on that. Now, to my statement about the UFC not having the best fighters, and this is something I've always been pointing out, is that they don't. There are fighters outside of the UFC who are world-class fighters, who are great. Let's take the lightweight division, for example, here. 155 pounds, UFC. We look at the top 10 in the world. How many of those fight for the UFC right now? 2. BJ Penn, Sean Shirk. That's about it. Now, I'm not saying that the UFC doesn't have other top 10 talent. In fact, Joe Stevenson might be. But they haven't proved it. That's what I mean. They haven't signed Tetsuya Kawajiri, even though Kawajiri begged them, basically, for a shot. They had Mitsuhiro Ishida and Joachim Hellboy Hansen. They fucked them over and told them they had to take a pay cut, or they weren't going to do it. They didn't make any serious bid for Gomi. They didn't make a great bid for a guy like Aoki. Although I don't know if Aoki would have done so well in the UFC, but still. They prey off of fans like you who don't look outside the UFC to realize that there are quality fighters outside the UFC. People who don't know who Fedor Emelianenko is. They didn't know who Nogueira was or Krokop until they came to the UFC. And the UFC acknowledged them. They didn't know who Vanderlei Silva. They may have known Vanderlei Silva before the UFC did talk about him. But they didn't really know who he was. They didn't know Shogun. They didn't know Dan Henderson beforehand. This is what I'm saying. If you want to be a fan of the sport, go out. Look at the other promotions. Look at K1. Look at M1. Look at Cage Rage, Elite XC, Strike Force, even Shudo. Although, admittedly, that's a little far because it's usually in Japanese and it's a little hard to follow it sometimes. But look and know that the UFC is, although the biggest promotion in MMA, it isn't MMA in its entirety. It isn't. The sport isn't Ultimate Fighting. I'm not really going to nitpick on the term. You want to really use the Ultimate Fighting term, go ahead. But I'm going to say that UFC, biggest promotion, doesn't own all the best fighters. It does own more than any other promotion, possibly every other promotion combined in every weight class except for the lightweight weight class, which is considerably lower. But anyways, this video ended up rambling because I did not script it or anything. I'm considerably pissed about this kind of messaging shit. But, yeah, here's my thoughts on it. You can comment, do whatever, but don't be stupid.